It was an offseason that we will all remember. And in the final season of the Pac-12 as we know it, comes Season 3 of the It Factory. It will be full of players that are on preseason watch lists, will be on future NFL draft lists. As always, we will take the helmet off of the top players on the West Coast and tap into who they are and why they stand out. I'm Yogi Roth, and welcome back to the It Factory. Welcome back, or welcome to the It Factory. I'm your host, Yogi Roth, and it is finally here. We are in week 1. Hope you enjoyed our week 0 episode with Ashley Adamson. And I know, especially Arizona State fans, you are going to love today's episode. It's with the new face of your program, Jalin Conyers. Yes, he's the face, he's the voice, he does podcasting, he's all over so many beautiful elements of content, and most importantly for a lot of you, he makes a lot of plays. So I went to Camp T, yes, Camp Tonizona, and sat down literally on the grass at the 50 to learn about his story. Enjoy. Definitely the first time we've done one of these episodes from the grass.
On the turf, baby.
On the turf. We've done a couple from training camp. But this is really fun. Jalin Conyers, Yogi Roth here. I want to start with something that I read about you that I saw on your towel in practice. Is it true that if you were going to write a book about yourself, the title would be Corn?
Yeah, honestly.
Because that word was on the towel, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, as soon as I got here, I got that nickname, and it kind of just stuck. It slowly got people, like, went from one person calling me to like 5, and then it stayed like that for a while, and then by like the middle of the season, the whole team was calling me it, and it just stuck. And it was funny because I didn't really like it at first, and then it just stuck, and it kind of became a tool where I was like, you know what, no one really has a nickname kind of like I do, so I definitely picked it up and ran with it, and it's super cool to have. But.
Okay, I love that. So our producer does a lot of research for the shows named TJ, and obviously try to know as much about you as I can. And anytime I'm around somebody who comes from a tiny town, I just feel a connection, right? Your town, like 1,300, my town's 1,400, no stoplights.
Literally.
I think there's something that a small town does to the growth of a competitive athlete. I'm curious for you, like what did it do for you as you look back on that experience growing up?
I mean, shoot, I think it just made me who I am. I mean, when you're in such a small town, like obviously, like you don't have anything to do, so what's your first thing you go do? You go play sports. And you can go speak for any, not even just me, but all my friends. Like, we didn't necessarily like playing some of the sports, but it was like, what else are we going to do? Like, I remember playing basketball with like 3 guys that didn't even really like it, but it's just like, hey, like, we might as well play it. We're athletic, whatever. Like, I mean, in high school, I played 5 sports. Like, I was constantly doing something over and over and over again. Like, I went from football to basketball to baseball, track and golf, all in the same season, all in the same, like, spring. So, I mean, I just think it made me who I am and made me the competitor I've always wanted to be. Whether I was good at it or bad at it, like, I've always want to win. Whether it's dodgeball or a spelling bee, like, I want to win it. Maybe even if I don't, I'm just a competitive dude.
Yeah. Well, to all the parents out there, a reminder, let your children play multiple sports.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be like Jalin. So we're at Camp Tonizona, which is a very historical place. But you did something that I thought was really cool in training camp, where you and your fellow tight ends and your coach, you sat around a campfire. Talked about your heroes, your highlights,
hardships,
and your hardships. I want to ask you about your hero because I have a feeling I know who it is from preparing for this, and I'm curious what answer you would say.
And you'll see if you got right. My hero is my mom.
Yeah.
She, she definitely is the person that I go to when stuff is going wrong and I need help. I mean, I grew up. Obviously, she had me. Birth dad was not in the picture. When I was born. Or, well, he was there and then obviously left a little bit after. But, man, it was hard for her. I mean, I can't even imagine what it was like then, obviously just having to deal with that, And just she fought. And, I mean, she could have done whatever with me, I mean, there's parents nowadays that, will just put up adoption. There's a lot of different options nowadays. So, she stuck with me and, she built me to the dude I am today. And I owe her a lot and I love her to death. And, she was kind of the first person to put a ball in my hand. I mean, she was a college basketball player. She was really good in high school, played college basketball. And, that's kind of where my hooping thing came from because all I wanted to be was a basketball player, so it kind of came from her. And obviously when I switched over to football, I kind of got my stepdad a little bit more involved. And obviously he was like, yeah, that's where I wanted to be. But, even him, dude, my dad, I mean, he came into a situation where, you know, obviously he has a son that he has, you know, that's not his, and he could have ran, he could have did this, but he, you know, he stuck with it too, and he believed in my mom and obviously their love for each other. And, you know, now I have 4 amazing siblings that, you know, I get to have a super cool family with.
How old were you when you met him?
I want to say I was around 2 or 3 years old. I can't really remember, but I do remember being in a tuxedo when I was about 2 or 3 at their wedding. I do recall that. So I've seen many pictures of that. So yeah, it's somewhere around that age, but you know, it's definitely something that, you know, I owe them a huge thank you, and I'll forever be trying to repay them for that.
Yeah, so there's a theory in psychology called first principles, which would mean like, what is the priority? What is first? What are the principles that you throw down on in your home, in your life? I'm curious for you growing up, what were the first principles if you look back on and said, this is what mattered most in our home?
I definitely obviously say faith. I think that's obviously the first one. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we are all Christians. You know, we all trying to, you know, go to church when we can on Sundays and, you know, do everything like that. So, you know, definitely that was number one thing. I mean, without God, obviously, I would not be in the spot I am today, and my family wouldn't be in the spot they are. So that was definitely number one over anything. You know, kind of after that, though, it was kind of, you know, based off not necessarily sports, but like respect, being courteous, you know, doing the right thing in general, not lying. You know, kind of just the small stuff like that. It was built on a principle of, like, my mom was like, if you lie about the little things eventually, you're eventually going to lie about the big things. Or if you're not honest about this or this and that. So, you know, kind of just those principles I grew up on, you know, and again, it made me the person I am. And I definitely owe my parents a lot more for that too, because I think without that, I might be a little hoodlum. Because I know I'm a little crazy sometimes, but, you know, I definitely got taught well by parents in terms of manners and stuff.
Yeah, first principles I think are vital, and sometimes I think we slip into it with our actions because that's just what it is, and they're subconscious. I think that's how I grew up. But then, like, when it's conscious, it's even like more prevalent of like,
right.
Oh yeah, integrity. That's a role in my life. So for you, when you grew up, you are a dynamic athlete, as you referenced. A ton of schools came on. You grew up and it was Texas Tech. You wanted to go there.
Absolutely.
And then OU and the rest of the world came calling. You went there, you were a quarterback, you were a wideout, now you're a tight end. When you look back on that, like, how did your first principles help you navigate that to now be in the face of this logo that we're sitting on?
I think the biggest thing for sure, obviously, was with faith, God's plan. You're right. Exactly like you said, I was so many times in my life, I was confused about where I was going to end up. You know, going, like you said, from high school. Dynamic athlete. What sport is he going to play?
Right.
You know, I was a basketball player. I wanted to play basketball. Got to junior year of high school, you know, kind of moved schools. My junior year of high school, played quarterback my whole life, really, basically from 6th grade to sophomore. You know, had that happen, bang. And then I'm like, all right, we want you to play receiver. Cool, whatever. Just whatever I do, play, have fun. Obviously have a really good high school, you know, career in football. Didn't really think too much of it. As I'm getting ready for the basketball season, bang, I get an offer from Texas Tech to play football. I'm like, oh, that's my dream school. That's crazy. Like, I was like, damn, I want to play basketball there, you know? And, you know, obviously, it's funny, too. I don't tell many people, but the day I went on the visit to Texas Tech, I asked to commit that day when I was there. And they were like, nah, man, you need to go recruit and do this and do that. We want you, but we want you to experience it first. And it was funny because we talk about it with my friends all the time because they all go to Tech and they're like, man, I don't know why he did that. And it's so funny because we talk about it. I mean, it's just crazy how life changes. And like you said, I got a bunch of offers. I didn't really know what was going to happen. And at the time, OU seemed like the right decision. I mean, Lincoln Riley was from Muleshoe, which is a super small town near me. So, I mean, talking to him, even in the room, just like when we met with each other it was like we knew each other. It was like we knew everything, Lubbock, from Amarillo. We knew everything. And, you know, obviously, things kind of worked out how they worked out there. I mean, obviously, you know, some things don't go as planned, and you got to switch it up, and you got to believe in God's plan, my number one principle. And, you know, he brought me here, again, confused, not really knowing what was going to happen, never really played tight end before, and now I'm sitting on a field with you for Pac-12, your podcast on the Fork. So crazy how life changes and how, you know, how sometimes you got to be patient, you got to wait. And I think I did a pretty decent job at it. I think I definitely could have, you know, there were definitely times where I thought I might veer off the path, and I, you know, was like, you know what, I need to make something happen. I need to force it. And I think I was like, you know what, let me just relax for a minute and wait and see what happens. And obviously God made it happen.
Yeah, I think the only guarantee that I tell incoming freshmen in college is that it's going to go exactly how you did not plan it to go.
Exactly.
'Cause
literally.
literally, right?
Literally.
So you could
Your
be,
first thought is you're going to be on the field, you're going to play, you're going to be the best player, you're going to be the freshman of the year, and then that never happens. Never.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So let's talk about confidence, because I think that is a really powerful word.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious where you think confidence comes from, and then I want to get into how you have evolved as a confident human.
Okay. I think, to start off, I think confidence comes from, the best way I can describe it is knowing what you can do in the worst situation. That's where I think of it. Like, in terms of football, when I'm like, I guess where the number one thing came from, we played in the state championship, and we lost like 70-30 in the state championship. It was terrible. And we were down
76-33, I think it was.
Ooh, he knew the exact score. Dang, I try to make it sound better. But like you said, like literally, and at halftime we were down by like 50, 60, somewhere in that range. In my mind, I was like, you know what? I scored a touchdown already. I need to just say, you know what? Tell coach, like, I'm the best player on the field. I'm not trying to be cocky, but throw me the ball. Let's see what happens. Let's make something happen. And it happened. And I had a bunch of catches and a couple more touchdowns. And that's where I think my confidence was really like, okay, like that for football anyway. I always had it in basketball. I always knew I was like, you know what, I could do this, I could do that. I knew what I had in me. Football, I never really knew until I got to high school. And then obviously OU, it kind of went down. My confidence went down. And then coming here, I finally just dedicated myself. You know what, you got to believe in yourself more than anything. Like at the end of the day, like you better bet on yourself or not do anything at all. So I think I finally just took that like self-confidence and I was like, you know what, like I got to run with it. And it finally came to fruition for me. And I think that was the biggest part of it for me, just being, I had to know what I had in me. I had to know that I could push in terms of catching the ball when we're down by a lot. I had to have the confidence, in a bad situation, I can help this person out, in whatever situation it may be. I think that's where it comes from. I think it's one of those things where you have to dig down deep to find it, because a lot of people just kind of, you float on the surface of like, maybe I can do it, maybe I can't, we'll see what happens. And I think I was just finding like, you know what, like you either can do it or you're gonna die trying. Yeah. So I think that was my mindset going into it, trying to find it.
I think the confidence comes from what you say to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like really simply, and you kind of described that. So when it's been hard, and you told your teammates about hardships, how did you manage it? How do you manage it when it gets hard?
I think the number one thing I do is I sit back and I sit down and I kind of, not move people out of the way, but I kind of just get in my zone where I'm like, you know what, like, stuff's going hard right now. It's like a bad time I say that, but it's like if the worst thing could happen in the world, there's going to be something good come out of it eventually. Like whether it's, and I know there's some bad things, but like, I mean, if it comes from a parent passing or this or that happening or whatever the case may be, like at the end of the day, it's going to suck and it's going to hurt. And you're probably going to cry and you're probably going to be hurting for a little bit and you're not going to want to talk to nobody, but there's going to be something good that comes out of it and you got to find what it is and you got to run with it and you got to stay on that path. And I think for me, when I left OU, it was like, man, I suck. I'm leaving all my friends that I just made. I was leaving the program that I told myself I was going to be at for 4 years. I was going to be successful. And I was hurt and it sucked. And I was like, man, like, what am I going to do from here? I don't know what to do. And whether it was even if it was that little 1% in me that told me it, it was like, Jalin, you're going to go to a different school and you're going to work your ass off and you're going to be okay. And it was like, man, all right, I got to run with it. Like you said, like I said, I mean, you got better on yourself. And I picked it up and I was like, you know what? When it comes to hard times, you're gonna have to take it on the chin, and you're gonna have to, obviously get your time to obviously, depending on what it is, mourn, obviously be your sad, stuff like that. But after probably, I give myself a day. That's kind of the rule me and Coach Mons also talk about is, hey, if something bad happens, obviously as a football player, you get one play. But if it's something where it's like, you got life stuff going on, you got this and that, you get one day, or I give myself one day to kind of go, you know what, I need a minute. And then it's like, I come back the next day, I'm like, I'm ready to go. If I ever have something bad happen at home or something bad happen, this and that, I come home, I think about it. The next day morning I wake up, I'm like, all right, it's a new day. We're going to make something happen today. Yeah. So that's how I like to think about it.
Speaking of making something happen, since Kenny Dillingham has gotten here, he's been making something happen.
Man,
in the Valley.
Telling you.
What has that been like? You heard it or you saw it on your phone, new hire, youngest coach in all of college football, and then you meet him, you watch his press conference online, but now you're in the throes of it. What has the journey been like in your relationship, and how you've seen his influence on this university.
Kenny Dillingham is the realest it gets. You know, I mean, when he got here, we hadn't even met him yet, and he was in the conference, and he got someone to go give $1 million to the program. I was watching the press conference, and I was like, okay, let's see what this dude's about. And I literally heard that, and I was like, man, I was like, shoot, if someone's willing to invest $1 million into him, then shoot, we better prepare ourselves. There must be something he's coming with. And he walked in that team meeting room that day, and he almost, not to shout out Coach Dillingham, he's an emotional guy, but you know, I love it.
We've heard about the emotion.
Yeah, I know. He's a real dude, so I know he gets emotional. But it was just like, man, like he came in, he started crying, he kicked his shoes off. He said, "This is where I want to be. This is home. This is my dream job. I don't want to go anywhere. We're gonna make something happen." And I think it just slowly, and the people were like, you know what? They may have not played a game, but like they're building something. And it was like, it's crazy to see how much of ASU and just Tempe in general has gone from, the football program stinks, what's gonna happen, who's this and that, to, hey, they look good in practice. Kenny Dillingham's bringing that energy, like we're ready to go. And I think it's just crazy to see, and I think having a person like that just influences people. I mean, when you hear him talking at his press conference, everything he says, it is the truth, and it was no matter what. When he says we have a bad practice, we had a bad practice. And when he says we have a great practice, he said we had a good one. And I think it's just one of those things about him. I mean, he tells everyone how it is, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. So I think he's told people that, whether it's a fan or alumni or boosters or us. You know, he just talks to us about it, and he's real life with us. And I think that's what people see. And I think people see that like, man, okay, if he's going to give us that, then I'm willing to rock with him. And I think that's how the whole team feels.
You know what else people see is you and your personality and how it shines. I'm curious, like, was your light ever dimmed, or have you always been this bright? Or are you stepping into a new role in your life? You got your own podcast. You got a bunch of cool stuff going on. You're clearly great on camera and conversation.
I think it all started, it was kind of funny because like I started getting interviewed for football and this is basketball, this and that when I was a freshman in high school, and I kind of had to learn how to talk. And I always laugh because I always went back and would go on YouTube and I'd watch press conferences and I'd watch how people talked. And I'd be like, okay, these are words not to use, this is what to say, this one not to say. Like, and I slowly but surely learned. I think the point where I hit full confidence was probably honestly, I'll probably say honestly sophomore year of college. That was when I was full confidence, like, oh yeah, like I can do interviews, I can do camera stuff, like whatever. And it's funny because I've always been a very goofy, funny personality type of person. I've always kind of been, I don't want to say shy, but I've always been hesitant to show it on field because I don't want people to think, he does not care. He's just dancing, moving around, doing this and that. But I want people to realize, anyone that does think that, I'm having fun. If I'm not out here having fun, I promise you are not going to get the best out of me playing. I promise. Like, if I am not joking around, and even in, I'm not going to say in bad situations where we're losing games, stuff like that, but in situations where, like, we're winning football games and I score a touchdown or this and that happens, like, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to jump around. I'm going to scream. I'm going to fling a towel around. Like, that's how I am. That's the type of person I am. I think this really is the first time where I've, like, had a voice that's like, hey, like, it's either, like, whether it's being stern and it's like, let's go, we need to have a good practice, or hey, let's go do something fun, like where we all go like play paintball or play dodgeball. Like, I think it's just small stuff like that, kind of put me in the spot where I am. And obviously I'm blessed to be where I'm at, and Coach Dillingham has put full trust in me. And even ASU staff in general, just taking me to media day, obviously let me do stuff with you. I mean, it's definitely a cool position to be in. But I think I owe a lot of it to YouTube.
All right, we'll get you out of here on these final 5 questions.
Okay.
Whatever comes to mind, first thought.
Okay.
Best advice you've ever received is what?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. I actually, like you were talking about my towel earlier, I write my nickname on there, but the 2 things I live by, these 2 sayings, I say STBD, small town, big dreams. I've always got told that you're never going to reach a dream if you don't dream big, regardless. Like, I mean, like you said, like, everyone's talking about, oh yeah, we want to see them in the Pac-12 championship, we want to see that, but I want to go to the national championship. I don't care if it seems far-fetched, I don't care if it seems unrealistic, I want to go there, that's my goal. Obviously, I'm going to take what comes with it, but yeah, that, and then small town, big dreams, and then the other one is prove them wrong, PTW. I write that on a bunch of my cleats and stuff like that, because man, I want to. I think growing up, even getting into the college phase, in my town and like near our town, a lot of guys are known for going to college, playing sports, and then coming back home because they couldn't take it, or doing this and doing that. And everyone and their mother was telling me the same thing. People, I won't say everyone, but people that didn't know me and know how my family, were like, hey, he's going to be the same way. And my first thought was, man, I'm going to prove them wrong. And I finally kind of started to learn that, and it went from, all right, I'm going to prove them wrong to that I'm going to go to Oklahoma and be successful. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to prove them now that I'm going to go to a small Arizona State and still be good, even if I didn't play at Oklahoma. And it just starts building and building and building. And right now I'm at that point where it's like we are going to prove people wrong when it comes to the ASU. And then after that, we'll roll from there.
Yeah, a lot of athletes have that phrase. I'll flip it for you. I wonder what it would feel like if you just said, I'm just going to prove me right.
Mm-hmm. True. That's a really good one. I like that. Prove me right. I like that.
Next.
Might have to sneak that one on there.
We'll sneak that one on there. Worst advice you ever received?
Be realistic. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a situation where you do, but I think in terms of what you want to get accomplished and what you want to do as a person, whether it's football or school or being a doctor, this and that, where it's like, oh, be realistic, bro. You're not going to accomplish that. Oh, be realistic. You're not going to get that done. Like, shut up. I don't want to hear that. Like, bro, tell me, like, all right, like, hey, shoot for it. If you don't, go to plan B. You don't do that, go to plan C. I think that's kind of how I like to look at it.
You talked about your hero, talked a little bit about hardships. If you do imagine this season in a sentence or two, what do you hope the highlights are?
What do I hope the highlights are? Well, that's a good one. What do I hope the highlight is? Obviously winning a bunch of football games. I think that, obviously, that comes with, hard work, obviously, and I think that's one of them. I think another one is getting that cup back. Yeah. I think that one, funny enough, it was one of my best games, but it hurt the most because it was like we had that thing for, I think, the last 5 years, and we lost it, and it was like, man, like, it was like we already had a bad season, and just to finish like that made it 20 times worse. I want to get that cut back. That's definitely a highlight I want to have happen, but I think obviously the biggest one is go to that Pac-12 championship and play whoever it is and shock the world and go, you know what, ASU's back, and we're here to make a statement.
The title of this show is The It Factory, and I believe the it factor is the most overused and undefinable phrase. But you have it. We can see it. But I'm curious for yourself, Jalin, how do you describe yours?
My it factor. My it factor is I'm trying to think of a word. My it factor is I'm different. When you look at a lot of tight ends or this and that, you can go ask a bunch of my teammates. I think when they would describe me, it's funny because I've had people come tell me like, bro, if you told me you're one of the best tight ends to be in the nation, like I would have never would have guessed the way you act. And I'm just like, what does that mean? They're like, it's not a bad thing. It's just like, I know a lot of football players that act a certain way. And if they're really good, they act a certain way, not necessarily saying it's bad, but it's just like, you just act different. And it's crazy, it's funny, and it's weird. And, I just think, I'm trying to be more specific when I say it's different, but I don't think I'm built like anyone. Like a lot of people don't expect what I do, whether it's jumping up as high as I can or catching the ball the way I do or moving the way I can at my size. I think it's just a lot of people see it and they're like, damn, like how? And I think that's just the one thing where I'm like, hey man, it's just me. It's just how I grew up getting taught how to play football. It's just the things I learned growing up. Like, when I'm on a football field, obviously technique and stuff is important, but it's like I'm playing backyard football as soon as the ball's in my hand. It's get it and go. And my eyes look at the end zone. It's like that's where I'm heading, whether there's someone in my way or there's not someone in my way.
You do live with vicarious joy. And that's been evidenced at the moment I met you when you transferred in. With that, the final question of our show here. When you look at your totality of experiences in your life, from a young man into a real man and everything in between, how would you answer the following question? And how would you finish the following statement? It all comes down to...
It all comes down to... Man, if we're just talking about football, nah, not even just football. This is life, I'll be honest. It is all about having fun. Having fun and being you. I think that's the two. Have fun and being you. When I come out here, you may see me, obviously, if I have a bad play and this and that, but I promise you the next play you will see me go, you know what, it's all right, whatever, cool, fun, awesome. Like, when we score touchdowns, when we do this, we do that, when we do dodgeball, when we do this, I'm going to have the time of my life. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, there is no promise that I will be able to come play on this football field tomorrow. Yeah. At the end of the day. there's no promise of it. There's no guarantee. So it's mean I'm going to live my life to the fullest. I'm going to do the other things I want to do as much as I can and have fun doing it. And obviously the be you part, man, it's simple. Just be yourself. No, like there's no need to change your personality, who you are, what you do, how your hair is, whatever. Like there's no point. I mean, just be yourself. If you don't want to cut your hair or whatever, if you don't want to like be weird and jumpy and that, like, then don't do it. Then just be who you want to be. And I think that's one thing I've tried to live by is like, I don't want to be the dude that, you know, when my little brothers and little sister look at me when I'm hopefully in the NFL doing this when I'm 30 years old and they're like, man, that doesn't even seem like Jalin anymore. I want them to go, yeah, that's still 12-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old Jalin that comes home to the house and does dumb stuff with us all the time and has fun and just talks a bunch of crap and plays football and wrestles with them and does all that. So I think that's just what it comes down to at the end of the day is, you know, having fun, being you, and, you know, just letting God's plan take place.
I'm so grateful and glad we had this conversation, the relationship, man, and thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you for having me, man. I mean, this is definitely something that, you know, hopefully you'll be back in Tempe for a couple games, you know, stuff like that. So hopefully we'll be playing a little bit more in Pac-12. It'll be the last time, but I know I'm be seeing you a lot more often, so thank you. Appreciate you.
There it is. Jalin Conyers, he's got the it factor.